This content is intended for adult listeners only. Listener discretion is advised.
I didn't stay long in Hapa Resource, mostly because it brought back too many memories. I'm waiting for Chief Akane Ashikaga of the Hawaii faction of Satogae S1. I'm in a large tent. I'm guessing it's a classroom by day and a gathering place at night. It's dusk and currently it's empty. Everyone is outside, making dinner on large grills or playing games, and there's a lot of laughter. I was offered spam musubi again, just like in Hapa Resource. Why am I liking it? We already knew that Tahmo encountered the Ashikagas in New Raja decades before it was changed to Shinjia. The Ashikagas knew there was a discrepancy in the theory that race mixing was dangerous. Also, they had learned that an alliance between New Raja and the Northern Imperial was going to trigger something much worse, and that was just before the race war was officially declared. Akane Ashikaga and her husband Hiroyuki had already started coordinating a large refugee extraction. Well, to get buy-in for this secret endeavor, the couple offered to split up. Hiroyuki would take a group to Alaska, and Akane would take a group to Hawaii. Their agreement was to reunite when the war was over. Well, she got back with her people, and he has not yet. I need to understand how Akane and Hiroyuki knew it would be safe to mix with other races, as they picked up people along the way, especially Hapa Resource, and what they learned about the grave sites they encountered in their escape through the restricted zone on their way to their respective outposts.
Entertaining Diversity presents Caucus, After the Fall, created by Teja Arboleda.
It is really good to meet you.
Good to meet you. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
Have you ever been here?
No, I have not. I've heard a lot about the area.
Lake Earl? You've never been to Lake Earl?
No, I have not.
It's beautiful. It reminds me of Hawaii.
I haven't been there either.
Oh, it's lush like this. Maybe our people can come back and live here. Anyway, good to meet you as well.
I am a producer. I don't know if you've heard of...
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I always agreed with the premise that Americans have a lot to learn from other countries.
Okay.
It was a lot more informative than the propaganda we received during the Great Separation.
Sure, I hope so.
It's a lot more informative. Because most everything else just sounds like propaganda all the time.
Yeah. I normally don't hear from supporters of my work,
We knew something was coming. We tried to get as many people out as we could. And that's why my husband and I left the mainland with our followers. It was too much.
I can really appreciate that. And your husband, is he here with you?
Not yet. He's making his way. I got here about 8 months ago. He was supposed to be here already. Yeah, so we kept communication over the years. We sent messages back and forth every 3 or 4 months. But we decided when we were turning 60 that maybe it was time to come back and see how things are. Figure out if it's safe yet to integrate. But he should have been here already. He was supposed to get here up ahead of me months ago, if not a year ago. Anyway, this was our designated test reunion spot.
Do you know where he is?
Not sure, actually. Well, Alaska is a long way. But the roads are clear. Late spring is thawing, so I'm sure he'll get a message to me. Let me know what's going on. I'm waiting
I really hope he does. I'm collecting stories that will go into a museum.
A museum?
Yeah.
Really?
So again, I'm not being a producer here. Yeah, it's a museum that I'm calling the American Race War Museum and Memorial.
How nice. There's so many stories.
Yeah, they are, and I'm intrigued by your affirmation of what I'm doing rather than the typical pushback. I am speaking with leaders like yourself of each district, of each ESLO, and I'm documenting your stories.
I wish Hiro was here to tell his side. Although, at this point, you know as much about his story as I do. And I cannot speak for him. I can reflect on what led up to our decision to leave, and my group.
All of your stories will help others understand what happened before and during the war. That's my hope. I'm interviewing ESLO leaders, as I mentioned, and then at a later point, maybe return and do more interviews, collect more stories with as many folks as we can in each ESLO. Maybe build the case for reconciliation and reunification, but also to collect information. And you looked at me when I said reunification. What do you think there's a possibility for that?
Lofty goals. Especially reunification. I'm imagining the war still raging on, considering I'm still here waiting. How did you get here anyway? I know a lot about the restricted zone. It was terrifying.
What if I told you that we believe that the war has ended?
When did the war end?
And that Davidson is dead.
When did the war end? Did I wait too long? Was all this waiting in vain? We have to tell others.
I know. We have informants who certify that UDEP has been disintegrated and Davidson is dead or killed or assassinated, maybe committed suicide. We don't know. But yes, the war is unofficially over. And that is how I got here. Through the restricted zone. ESLO by ESLO of the past many months. In fact, I was last in Hapa Resource. I met with Amihan Bekele. She was the one who told me to find you here.
Amihan. She was such a godsend. I owe her my life.
Yeah.
Amihan and her community embraced us when we were seeking refuge on our journey to the islands. Some of her people even came with us. Some of them weren't Asian and they came with us. Proves a point, doesn't it? About the variant?
Right.
Wait, you said informants.
I belong to an unknown mobile village called La Mura.
Mura is Japanese village. La is Spanish for the.
Yes.
You're mixed race.
Yes.
You're a mixed-raced village, like Hapa Resource. You better not be part of that infamous terrorist group that blew up half of the before America cities.
I've heard that often, and that was an assumption that was made by many, pushed forward by the former president's media campaigns. No. Those are accusations. That there was some kind of rogue mixed-race terrorist organization that bombed America, enemy of the state. I actually don't believe there ever was a terrorist group that did that at all, in fact. I believe it was an inside job. I believe that Davidson and UDEP set those bombings.
So who are you, if you're not with Hapa Resource? Freedom fighters? You stayed to fight? You're crazy. How big is your village?
Well, we're only a couple of thousand. Semi-military entity. We train for defense and to gather information.
Gather information. So your informants are spies. Don't tell me. Did you kill Davidson? How did you get along with UDAP? Aren't you too old to go spying around? You and I, all of us, we're not young anymore.
Yeah, no, we're not young anymore. And
so, how did you do it?
We couldn't. We had to train children.
Jesus.
To gather the information.
You train children to spy. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
We don't have any children. Our children are our followers, our survivors. Even so, I would never put them in harm's way. This is why we got out in the first place.
There's a woman by the name of Esperanza Alvarez Abalahin. She was the one who founded La Mura. She and some of the other co-founders tried to get into other SLOs soon after the Great Separation, to learn as much as they could, but it was too obvious. As adults, several got caught. We don't know what happened to them. So she trained children to do her job. At first it was 16-year-olds, then 15, then 14. The youngest was 6 years old.
6 years old?
He was the most successful, and he was Esperanza's son.
How could you? How could you? Can't believe this. Esperanza. Esperanza is a monster. You're a monster.
I joined some years later after she trained him, the younger one. Yeah. I am a monster.
Well, this is where we are now. What are you going to do about it?
We have to get them back. All those we trained, the ones who haven't returned. The youngest one, over the years, had returned several times throughout his childhood, bringing back vital information. He had a half-sister.
Mm-hmm.
The last we know is that he and his sister were in the Northern Imperial, and when they came back, they informed us that Davidson had died. We don't know specifically how.
You may not be a terrorist organization, but you certainly know how to screw up a kid's life. I don't care how valid you think your argument is. You better not be expecting any pity from me.
This is the only way I can pay for my actions, is to bring them home.
And the spying, how did that work? You just take a 6-year-old and they're on their way. No adult supervision? That's unbelievable.
We guide them to be tagged into families. Essentially being adopted into different SLOs. We drop them off near the outskirts of an SLO in the middle of the night. They're given key words and phrases, and that's how they eventually get into a prominent family. And from there, it's all about focus, observe, filter, archive. It's FOFA. It's a military technique we invented. I was involved in the interview technique part for spying.
What information did you need? What were you trying to do with that information? How did you even get information back?
Well, as you stated, when the internet went down and most communication ended, even most accessible airwaves, you knew something was going down, right? You said so yourself. Something was happening, and you and your husband did something to address that.
First, it was the news stories, as you know. Who knew what the truth was? Right? And what can you do about it anyway? I'm sure your own work was limited. You didn't back down. Then it was the first of the leaflets. The orange one-pagers dropped from the skies by airplanes. Millions of identical notices strewn all over cities, suburbs, parks. Notices that a race war was going on? And do your part, stuff like that? Even after the Great Migration, as if that wasn't enough, we had already been attacked over and over again for being Asian, as a response to the variant. I'm sure that was inspired by Davidson and his rhetoric. UDAP soldiers yelling terrible, terrible things to us as we were hauled off in trains and trucks and buses. Hiro and I, we both knew, without even saying it, that something worse was coming. And we had to be prepared for it. Those World War II internment camp stories were not in our textbooks, but we knew about it, handed down through the generations. We were not going to let that kill us or divide us again.
I escaped too. Disappeared. So what happened during the Great Migration?
Hiro and I were on a train heading west, that's all I knew. We didn't know where they were taking us. There were so many stops along the way. Each time we stopped, I thought, that's it. This is where we're going to be. I was 25. Hiro was 26. We were just beginning our lives together. We met so many people. Everyone was scared, getting sick, dehydrated, throwing up, hungry. It was loud, smelly, sweaty, and the children playing with each other on the train or on breaks outside, not really understanding the severity of their situation. Parents so scared it made me sick. They tried to keep their kids from looking outside during the day, especially when you could occasionally see thousands of people walking in a particular direction. Different races, different directions. And the debris, garbage, burnt cars, toys, shoes, and dead bodies. Twice I saw huge mounds with animals and birds crawling over them. Never knew what could be under them. One mother said to me that I'm lucky I didn't have children, in front of her 5-year-old daughter. I'm not an angry person, but at that moment, something flipped in me. A switch. I turned to my husband and asked him if he loved me no matter what. He smiled and nodded his head, so typical Japanese. I miss him so much. Why did I ask him that question? 4 days later, we arrived in central Kansas. That's all we were told. We had to build our own houses, makeshift shacks at best, or risk living in a time bomb, as the gas explosions were still common. UDAP tried to brand us with these tattoos to signify our race and ESLO, but didn't want to get too physically close. So they made us wear these little bracelets marking us for our Eslo, New Raja. Didn't even know what Raja meant. Couldn't look it up. Didn't sound East Asian. When we deboarded, I saw people of all kinds, all types, thousands of them, all lined up for inspection, and hundreds of UDAP workers in hazmat suits. All I could think was, I hope those UDAP people in their stupid uniforms faint in the heat. Children were crying. Some parents had lost track of their children, so they're yelling, they're screaming, scared. Families separated. Many didn't speak English, different languages, a big jumble. And no one was worried about us catching the variant, being so different from each other. Just because we're Asian?
What prompted you to then think about leaving, forming Satogae?
My husband used to always say that he was homesick for Japan. Satogae means to return home. Well, he never did. He has family there. I don't even know if his family knows he's alive. When the UDAP trucks started coming around regularly, they'd have us line up for vaccines. Something was always strange about it. People were dying anyway, regardless of the vaccine, and UDAP wouldn't allow us to administer these vaccines. And we had nurses, doctors, and medical practitioners who could have done that. But UDAP didn't want us touching those vials. In the early years of New Raja, it was chaos. We didn't have a designated leader. There was a lot of vying for leadership. Mostly the disagreements had to do with which country of representation was most appropriate. The biggest challenge was between China, Japan, and India. India finally won because it had the largest representation. And they claimed India itself was a democracy, so they had a history with equitable social systems. Unlike China and Japanese representation, well, it was too small. UDAP perceived this process as dangerous, a threat to peace. UDAP was going to force itself on us and subdivide us at will. That would have separated my husband and I because I'm ethnically mixed, and many others were mixed. We had friends from so many backgrounds. Many of them went to other Eslos. They risked their lives. Some even went back to where they came from. They escaped to Eslos where they felt they ethnically matched that group, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Some groups are so wrought with internal racism.
Was probably another reason for you leaving too, maybe?
Sure. So by the end of year 1, we had pulled together a small group. We secretly met while pretending to play shogi. But the pieces represented our strategies. We actually didn't know how to play shogi. We'd use phrases and terms to strategize. Who knows if we were being bugged? Our plan was to leave and bring with us as many people as possible. We had enough ethnic and biological diversity with a couple thousand to repopulate if we had to. But it was my idea to split us into 2. The opposite of divide and conquer. Instead, divide and survive. There were better chances of being able to survive if the before US would really fall and destroy itself for good. It was my idea to take the responsibility for at least myself to represent. My husband, Hiro, he did the bravest thing, to offer himself to be on the other contingency. That way, all the followers could trust that we're doing this for the common good. Hiro promised we'd be together again. 2 divergent spots that hadn't become part of the separated states of America, Hawaii and Alaska. Hiro had done mountain climbing and camping in northern Japan. That was his argument for taking Alaska. That would prove to be a very difficult trek. To lose 20% of the people to hunger, the elements, the cold.
So you projected losing 20, or you...
We lost 20%. We had friends in Canada who would let them through. We slowly planned and pulled in people one by one, ensuring no sleepers, no defectors. Children were not informed. A year later, the next winter, we gathered at the launch site in the middle of the night. Trucks and buses, bicycles, any form, ready to take us to the restricted zone. I said goodbye to my husband. I said goodbye to Hiro. I had never seen him cry, but he cried. He promised me that we would be together again. We headed west into the restricted zone again, triggered by what we remembered when we arrived. Traveled only by night. We stopped once in the restricted zone. We passed by a lot of what looked like burial grounds. Spent many days hiding so as not to be visible by UDAP. We noticed early on there weren't a lot of soldiers within the RZ, but we made it to Hapa Resource. We blended in, prepared for launch to Hawaii.
Knowing you'd lose so many people.
There was no choice. We had no choice.
Yeah. What do you miss the most?
Hiro, my husband. His humor. His smile. His gentleness. Not much else. We love Hawaii. Hawaii's beautiful, but difficult to live. Sustainable agriculture proved to be too difficult. Tourism of the past reduced its ability to self-sustain. We love Hawaii. But it's time to come home.
So then what were you planning when you came back?
Scout for a new home. Recombine both Satogae communities into one. I think Hiro and I deserve to be together.
There are just so many young people conscripted, drafted from all Eslos to fight, and they never returned home. They never returned.
Stay away from more violence.
I'm learning this from other Eslo leaders, and I remember earlier I talked about this half-brother and half-sister.
Mm-hmm.
The younger one, the boy, he was the 6-year-old that I mentioned earlier. Their names were Tahmo and Semha. I have to find them.
Yeah, you do.
And the others, and I've got to bring them home. They've done everything they could, and they should have a normal life, whatever that means. And with Davidson dead and with UDEP non-existent, Chief, would you consider working with us to build a new country, reconciliation, reparations? Would you please consider that?
If you have enough evidence, if you have enough stories, commitments, then yes. But only if my husband gets to play a role. Hiro has to have a role. Can you help me find my husband and his Alaska family? Believe me, I know about commitments.
I will do everything in my power. I will work with my colleagues from Lemura Yeah, I know just what to do. I'm going to go back to Lamuda, and we're going to do our last reconnaissance. And we're going to get all the evidence we need because I'm beginning to think that the war didn't just end. I don't think it ever happened.
Caucus After the Fall stars Michael To as Chief Lingyun Chen, Ian Lyons as William Duchesne, Jackie Davis as Chief Rose Jacobs, Rena Malashevsky as Chief Winona Redfeather, Naheem Garcia as Chief Ricardo Gutierrez, Celeste Oliva as Chief Amihan Bekele, Michelle Aguillon as Chief Akane Ashikaga, Shahjahan Khan as Lieutenant General Shimer Rashid, and Teja Arboleda as the producer, with additional voiceover by Barbara Wilson Arboleda. Created and written by Teja Arboleda. Script advisor Barbara Wilson Arboleda. Directed and executive produced by Teja Arboleda. Co-produced by Michael To and Barbara Wilson Arboleda. Original music and soundscaping by Arshan Galas. Edited by Teja Arboleda. Casting director Michael To. Development Director, Dan Watanabe. Marketing Coordinator, Katie Arboleda. Special thanks to Desiree Cooper. This podcast was recorded under a SAG-AFTRA Micropod agreement. Caucus After the Fall is an entertaining diversity production in partnership with To Arboleda Films. Caucus After the Fall was developed from the original story Caucus by Teja Arboleda. All characters and other entities appearing in this work, Caucus and Caucus After the Fall, are fictitious. Any resemblance to real persons, dead or alive, or other real-life entities, past, present, or future, is purely coincidental. For more information, go to www.entertainingdiversity.com.